Good morning, this is Barb from Studio B. I'm on a little early today, so I wanted to be able to have enough time to get this done. So today I'm painting from nature, from a beautiful iris in my backyard. So now is the time of year where we get a lot of inspiration. I have posted a sample picture of the iris, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using my little journal, art journal, and acrylic paints. I'm still using my Stay Wet palette, and I added a few things on here. So today I'm not going to worry about the background as much. I already have the iris sketched out and some of the greens. And also, right next to it, I didn't realize it till I looked at the photo, there's a few peony buds at the bottom, so that's kind of a fun extra. So this was a view. I knelt down on the ground and took a view of the iris from below it, so I thought that was a fun way to learn how to paint an iris. So we'll have the stem that goes up, and then how the petals curl over from the stem. And I'm kind of wondering if I need to make this a little bit wider, but we'll go with what we have here. Oh wait, I do have a pencil here. I might soften these lines in case I want to widen it. It is a beautiful day. I hope you get a chance to go outside for lunch. Spend a little time in nature's vitamin D. All right, so I'm going to use an angle brush, my round, and my script brush, small detailed brush. Those are the ones I'm planning on using the most of today. I am not feeling that I'll need the larger brush today, so we'll set that aside. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the stem here. With the ankle, it's got a lot of shadowing underneath here, so I think we'll start with the round here. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase a little bit of this. This time of year, if you want to practice your flowers, this is a good time of year. There's lots of choices, and if you can get into the area before all the other stuff grows up around it, you can get a pretty good detailed picture. So to make a deeper color, using this purple, which is a Deco Art paint called Brilliant Purple. A little bit of this, I picked up a little bit of this blue, and because of the shadow, I picked up a tiny bit of green. That will help kind of gray that purple out. If I wanted it a little bit deeper, I would choose maybe even a darker purple. But I'm going to try with what we got here. It's fun to learn how to mix colors and practice it, so this is a fun way to practice in an art journal like this. That looks pretty good. You can see there's a little color other than the green. The green did make it quite a bit grayed out. Let's see, I might add a touch of purple so we know. We'll see how that looks when it dries. Sometimes acrylic paints dry a little darker. Okay, so looking at my reference photo, it looks like there's some darkness down here. Not a lot of it, just a little bit. yesterday there wasn't this many bulbs open, or flower beds open, so that was kind of fun to go out and see what was there just from yesterday. So I'm not going to wipe my brush off, but I'm going to go ahead and just add a little more purple. I'm going to tap this on. So from my photo, it's not quite distinct, so I embellished a little bit of how this looks here. I'm going to add a touch of white now, because I need this to start to soften. I'll add a little more purple to that here. Oops, I think that's getting a little bit too much purple. Added a little bit more white to my brush. Excuse me. You could get to where you need to wipe your brush off, and that's what you use your cloth for, or paper towel. I try not to rinse my brush too often. Leave a little bit of the remnants on there. I'm going to put a little of this lighter color down here to look like it's kind of covering this part of this stem. Now the rest of this will be some sort of green. So I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to move on to some of the bigger areas. And this brush is doing pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. This would be fun to make a pretty card for a friend. And you don't always have to have the background colored in when you have a card. So add a touch of white. I want to lighten this a little bit as it hangs over. This side is in the picture is more shaded, so this side will be a little bit muted, I guess is the right word. I picked up a little bit of our darker color that we used in here, just as touch, because this part here is shadowed and I don't know if that quite shows. Let's try that again. There we go. It's kind of fun to, our phones have really good cameras, if you've probably noticed that about your phone or smartphones. So if you get a chance to, if you don't have flowers where you live, go find a park where your cities maybe have some flowers and get some pictures for some future paintings. Something for practice. Now the sun is seeping through it almost looks like a tissue. It's so almost transparent. You can see the light through it. Gonna kind of lighten the center. It looks like it gets a little darker towards the edges. I can cover my line pretty well with this paint. If you paint on canvas, you can add several layers. With the journal, it might be a little bit much to add too many layers. Might need to let it dry more in between. I'm going to come up here and put in this line here with color. Some of this is just blocking in the color because the color seems to change as the petals have folded out. It almost looks like you can see like a vein. But not totally, totally obvious. Of course, if I put my glasses on, maybe it would be more obvious. Now some of this up here is darker because it looks like there's almost a crease or a fold, and with the sun coming through it, there's more of a shadow. Could move to a liner brush for this part. If you don't have time to watch this, if you just stumbled upon it, there'll be a replay so you can come back when you have time. Let's see, from my picture it looks like this part will have some green, so I'm going to leave that. And there's a window here and a window here I can see on the picture, so on the photo. Alright, I'm going to kind of wipe my brush on the cloth here. It was getting pretty full of paint, and I was able to bring it back to more of a point. I'm going to make sure I don't lose this little window here. So if we did have like the sky and this blue sky, these would be blue here. Alright, so that's pretty good. I think I want to put a little bit of lighter color right here. Alright, this one, I picked up our Brilliant Purple, and that's mostly what this is right here. Not really mixed with anything. I'm going to add a slight bit of white right here. So if you wanted to be, sometimes to make a picture interesting, you might have to push the contrast a little more. Contrast between light and dark. So I'm using this other pink, dark purple, lighter purple, it's called magenta, to differentiate the different petals. All right, these, let's see. Here's our window, so I can do this one. Added a touch of blue to my brush just to differentiate this part here, because this part of the blossom is kind of overlapping, and there's definitely light and dark contrast going on right here. Alright, now let's do this part here. My brush is getting pretty heavy with paint, so I'm probably going to have to wipe it off here. That's doing pretty good. Actually, I'm just going to rinse it because I do need to start adding green. So under here, you can see there's a little bit on the side, there's a little bit of more of a green going on. So I'm going to pick up some green, and I'm going to add a touch of that blue to soften the green, and a little bit of white. And sometimes when you load your brush, you gotta wipe it off a little bit. All right, here we go. I'm gonna lighten that a little bit, but before I do that, I'm gonna bring this color down here. And there is a little bit of like a green edging right here. Just that, at least that's the way it appears in the photo. Let's see, I'm gonna switch to the liner brush. Now we're going to add some white. I'm going to lighten this area here. I don't want it pure white. I want the intent is to show off this little green area, but it is lightened underneath. And it looks like I've got a lot of water on my brush. Alright, I need to wipe the brush on the cloth, because I had a bead that was stuck in the ferrule and it came down and dribbled on the paper. That's okay, sometimes that happens. Alright, so now we're gonna, I really like this green, that turned out well. So this here is getting lighter, kind of like we did there. And I have the lighter green on my paint palette, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of that. If you're leaving comments or questions, sorry I'm not able to see it, but I will look at it when I post the replay. If there's any questions, I can answer them. I have this wooden, it's part of a frame actually. I have it here so my journal doesn't slide around, so it's kind of nice to have a place to set my hand without actually on the journal itself. Alright, I'm just going to let that kind of go over. So it's kind of not really blending, but feathering. Maybe that's the right word. Alright, hey, that's looking pretty good. So this is underneath, so it's not as bright as this. That'll just take a little bit to dry. There's a kind of a puddle there. Alright, and this is the window. Maybe I want to add a little brightness, lightness under here. Just gonna kind of follow that. So if you don't have any pretty flowers where you live, maybe go down to your local nursery, your flower shop. The nursery's outside. You can get some really good pictures with the natural light outside. Alright, I'm going to start putting in the greenage here. Greenage. I don't know if that's the right word. Greenage. Is that a word? I think it's probably a word. Am I using it correctly? That might be a different thing. So I'm adding the light and the dark green. If you'd like to paint from my photo, you're welcome to, for your personal use for practice. I'm going to lighten this one. Whoops, that did not lighten it, did it? There we go. Just to kind of help it from getting lost. So as you can see in the photo, there was a lot more going on, but this is what I chose to work on. When you're working from a photo, it is okay. You do not have to put every little piece of information in your painting. You can edit your photo. I have one of my photos has a yellow one of these, and our landscape lighting. One of those old, it looks like an old-timey lantern, and it's hanging like on a shepherd's hook. It's just so pretty, but the distance between the flower and the lantern would make an awkward picture. So when I do that one, if we do that on a live, I would definitely edit the distance. It must be noon. I hear the noon siren. Or Monday noon siren. Testing the system. That's good. We are still in tornado season. Alright, so this is a peony foliage here. And the leaves are small yet and easy to follow, so that's what makes it nice to try to paint from nature. They kind of cup before they totally fan out. And if you have a printer, you could print out your photo and use like black carbon paper. We used to call it, well, it was for typing. If you were going to type several copies of the same thing, you would put a sheet of carbon paper in between your two pieces of typing paper. So that's what I use when I need to be real exact in a design. And then you could trace your photo onto either your canvas or your journal. I know there's been a debate about whether tracing is allowed, and I say yes. I say it's allowed. Drawing from freehand would hold a lot of people back from wanting to learn how to paint. So if drawing is not your skill, it is okay to use tracing paper. And a lot of professionals have their own techniques of getting the information they need before they paint something. So yes, you do have permission to trace. Kind of playing with the color to help differentiate the information here. Okay, I think we just have our peonies, and I want to put in the little bit of rosy color going on in there. I'm going to get my rosy red and I'm going to mix it with magenta. And it's just pretty much in the center, because the bulb's pretty tight yet, and then so these are kind of like a protective casing, protective cap or casing over it, is what I'm calling it. I'm not a scientist, but that's what I'm. Naturalist, botanicist, I don't know, what is that called? It's not coming to me at the moment. Sorry to be fumbling around with words again. Mother's Day is coming up next weekend, so if you would like to use my photo to make a card for your mom or your grandma, you are welcome to do that. I'm sure they would enjoy your creativity. Things my children have made with their own little hands are more precious to me than anything else. I'd like to keep them all. Now they're grown, it's hard to sometimes I have to think back, yeah, their hands were that tiny at one point. Alright, well there is our creating from a photo, and that would be a pretty card. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a fabulous day, and happy Mother's Day. Thank you.